Hey, it's Mirna from Trainers Toolbox. Welcome to the Trainers Toolbox podcast, a place where you can discover practical and effective tools and tips to make your workshops more insightful, engaging, and memorable. You are at the right place if you're looking to become the best trainer you can be and design truly impactful learning experiences. Ready? Let's dive in. Okay, honestly, I'm feeling a little bit ambitious to be unpacking the topic of building trust and connection in a workshop in like half an hour podcast format. And there is a lot to be said about this topic, and it's best to explore it in more conversational way and digging in deeper and understanding what are you doing already, what are you doing naturally, what is maybe sabotaging the way you build trust and connection in a workshop, how can you do it better. And the best way to unpack it is to start by reflecting on how are you doing it already, what are your own tips you would give to someone else. So you might even want to pause this one and first think about that, and then also exchange those tips with other trainers. It's one of the things we do in Trainers Toolbox in courses such as Advanced Facilitation course, and also in a community, Trainers Conversations, which is a year-long community of trainers with new kind of members every year, where we spend the time together, and every month we meet for a meaningful conversation, and in it for 2 hours we unpack topic such as the one on building trust. So I do want to invite you not to get limited and not to take the tips I'm sharing today as these are the tips, that's what I need to do, the checklist. No, take them as ideas, as things you might want to explore, as something to give you new perspective, but ultimately you really want to deepen this topic. And you can always deepen it with me in different formats, but also by grabbing a group of trainers and talking it out with them and sharing the best tips and practices. Having that said, today I'm sharing with you 7 practical tips, specific, tangible, practical tips on what you want to keep in mind to build more connection and safety, right, and trust right from the beginning of your training. In one of them, I'll diverge a bit deeper into some of the sub-tips, so there'll be probably like 10 tips at least in total, maybe more, but I'm packing them into 7 officially. Remember, you always have handout available if it gets a bit too much, if you get confused with all the tips already. Don't worry, you can always pause, come back to it, but you can always download the handout as well and check it out there. Now, handouts are a bit brief, so you won't get all the insights from it that I'm sharing in the episode actually, but you will get the outline of main things just enough so you don't have to make notes and you can come back to it easily and reflect for yourself. Ready? Let's go. First tip for building trust and connection is tip that I probably say about almost everything in training. And that is basically be intentional and be goal-oriented in how you choose to build that trust and connection. First of all, start with the question, how much trust and connection do I actually need to build in order to achieve the goal of this process? I'll say that again. How much trust and connection do I actually need for my learning goal, for my goal of the process? Because, make no mistake, trust building spends time and energy. Building properly, really strong group, deep connections, it takes a lot of time and energy. And there is no need to overdo it. You're not building a group of future best friends, unless you are, but usually you're not, right? So plan it exactly as you need it for your specific session, for your specific environment, without over-investing, but also without keeping it too superficial to actually achieve your goals. Now, this will depend hugely. What does that mean? It will depend on your session goal more than anything. Is this deep, vulnerable process, or is this more of a cognitive thing? It will depend on your topic. Is this topic more related to self-development or to knowledge or to hard skill? You don't need a lot of trust for technical skills, but you need a lot of trust to work on own self-saboteurs, or like the deeper you go in terms of topic, the more trust you will need. It will also depend on your group size. On the group size, it will depend just how much trust and connection can you even build, right? But also how much time it will cost you to build it. So you want to calculate carefully there. And it will also depend on your group background. Do they know each other already? Do they not? Are they similar? Are they very different? How easy is it to connect them? that will define how much investment you need to make, and that will then define how much are you willing to invest in actually this, how much do you need of trust and connection. And then it will also depend on the length of your workshop. If you have a longer process in which they're together, you can give more time to actually build trust and connection properly, because everything will then run much smoother later in the process. But if it's just a short module they're together for, then maybe it does not make sense to invest a lot in trust and safety. So then you just want to think, how much is it needed? What is the baseline that is needed for this specific process? And then once you actually decide how much trust will you need at the point in your workshop where it's the most trust that's needed, where they need most confidence and trust and connection with you and with the group, when you know what that size of that trust or amount of that trust, then you want to make sure you build it before you need it. You don't build trust at the beginning of the challenge. You build trust and connection at the beginning of the workshop. And by the time the challenge is there, they already need to be connected and settled and already ready to dive in. Okay, I hope this makes sense, to always start intentionally and to ensure that you don't overinvest time and energy into something that's not useful for your specific workshop. Tip number 2, a bit more on the practical start. Trust building starts before the start of the workshop, or right at the start when they enter the room. So you might want to think, how can you communicate with participants in advance, and what will help build trust through that communication? In my experience, 2 things that build it hugely when you communicate in advance. One of them is if your communication is warm, friendly, not too formal, relaxed, but also with credibility. And then also if you set clear expectations, because I'll talk about that in a bit. Clear expectations are very good for safety. So you want to communicate a bit of that in advance. For example, we have a virtual workshop. Are we going to use cameras or not? And why? Why is it important that we use them or not? Should you have something to make notes? Can you join this call as a walking meeting? Answer these questions in advance, not over-explaining, but giving very clear expectations in a warm, friendly tone, and supporting them with a lot of why. This is why we're going to do it that way. So they would know it's not because you're bossy and you just want them to join the videos, but it's because that actually serves the workshop and the purpose in some way. And then similar goes for the moment when people join the workshop. I think the most important thing is to just simply greet them warmly, especially in physical space as they enter the space. Even if they enter early, even if you didn't sort out all your materials yet, you're a little bit trying to focus on the process. Don't spend your time on the process once on location. Instead, really spend it on greeting them warmly, providing them space, making them feel welcome. It makes a huge difference. And also the vibes that you build in physical space, like music if you want it, maybe snacks, maybe some warm vibes, a welcome flip chart with some nice image, and just the coziness of the space. It will all contribute to people feel welcoming. Maybe also giving them ownership of the space to choose their seat and so on. In virtual, it can be also about what you do before. So things like setting up the welcome slide or welcome video and setting up music before we start and so on, but also the way that you engage with them the moment that they actually step into the workshop. So the way you greet them, the way you share questions in chat or ask a question, the way you engage. Again, this will very much depend on your workshop size, but the point is you want to be intentional about this. You want to really ask yourself, how do they feel as they step into this space, and what can I do to make them feel a bit more welcome and a bit more safe? Number 3, clarity is safety. So people feel safe when they know what they're invited to do and what is welcome and what is not a good idea. If they're not clear, they will hesitate. They will not want to risk. Every interaction, everything they share, every way they behave, every way in which they step up will feel unsafe because they're not sure, is it welcome? Is that the way we do things here? And I cannot overestimate how important this is, especially in virtual space. Because in virtual space, the rules and the ways that people engage with the content are a little bit less implicit because they can't see others. We don't have so uniform ways of behaving in virtual space as we have in live space. Like, for example, should cameras be there or not? Will people participate actively or not? In live space, that's a bit more implied that they're there. In virtual space, not so much. So the more you can provide this clarity and make things very explicit, what do we do here, the more you can build safety. And this starts again from before the workshop, when you let them know if they'll be expected to participate actively, or can they tuck in with a blanket and not show up on video and just listen, or will they be video expected, and why, and what kind of interactions, even will there be breakouts. You want to have that clarity explicit already in advance, but especially at the beginning of the workshops. And some of the examples of what I would say in a virtual workshop, in different, also in live, but especially in virtual, would be also maybe telling them what are the ways for them to engage. For example, at any point, you're welcome to ask a question. Just raise the virtual hand or just write it in chat. But don't wave at me at the video because I might not see it. That is random example. Or other times I'll say, please don't write in chat because I'm not really keeping an eye on it during this exercise. So instead, better to raise virtual hand. And then I'll check that they know how to do it. Or the opposite. Please, like we are many here, we are 100 people, please don't do virtual hands, it will be a mess. Instead, write in chat, I'll keep an eye on it throughout. So you want to be very clear about what is the way to engage and what is not the way to engage. And that creates a bit of safety. And again, it's not about bossiness. You don't want to communicate it like you need to do this, you have to do that. It's a lot about this is how we do it for this reason. Like we will use chat because it's 100 of you here, so it's easier. Or we will not use chat, so you don't need to bother to look at it because it will be distractive. Instead, let's do this. So you want to be very, very clear about this. Also, when we are engaging with a new discussion, I'll seek to always give a bit of clarity. What is the goal of it? And how much time are we taking for it? For example, whoever wants to share, please jump in. And then I'll remind them. You can do it in chat, you can do it by virtual hand, blah, blah. These are the ways to do it. And we have quite some space here, so feel free to share anything that crosses your mind on this topic. Or maybe instead I will say, whoever feels like sharing, jump in. We won't spend a lot of time with this topic, maybe like up to 10 minutes. So 3-4 ideas, please do throw them in and share yours by raising your virtual hand. So I will always go with what is the question, what are we discussing here? How much time roughly are we spending on it? Should you be relaxed and go broad? Should you share? Should everybody share? Who exactly should share? And also, what is the way to engage? In physical space, I will be a little bit less specific on just raise your hand. I won't say that maybe, but I will keep similar guidelines in terms of time and abundance of sharing. But I will also support that a lot through my body language and voice. Like if I want people to share more abundantly, I'll have more open and relaxed body language. Maybe I'll sit down to really listen, so I make part of the circle, or maybe I will slow down my speech a bit, go with a bit deeper voice, so they feel like, oh, there is space here, take it, you know. So I will also communicate in different ways, so I'll be maybe a little bit less explicit, but in virtual I'll be more explicit because it will come across less otherwise. I hope that makes sense. And I do want to say, while we want to communicate that clarity explicitly to create safety, we also want to demonstrate it. For example, if I say, feel free to ask your questions in chat at any point. I might not see them immediately, but I'll see them by end of the slide. So at the end of each slide, I will be looking at questions or something like that. And then somebody posts a question and I go through 4 slides and I don't even acknowledge the question. Then I did not confirm with my behavior the rule that I communicated. Hence, I'm not creating safety and I'm not creating clarity. People feel uncomfortable. The person who asked and also others because they see the question and I'm ignoring it, right? Or a different example, I say this will be very interactive workshop. I hope you will engage actively, ask your questions and share your experiences. And then I talk for 10 minutes, and 10 minutes is not a lot, but still, I talk for 10 minutes, I broke it. I communicated this is open space, and then I'm centralized to that space, and I'm taking the stage, right? I broke it. So if I say something like, this is really up for you to also share and to engage actively. I need to create a moment where they engage actively, practically right away after I said that. Within 2-3 minutes, I can still share something about clarity or why, the goal of the workshop, maybe something a bit about agenda, but not too much. I cannot go too long into me talking. I need to demonstrate very early that they will be engaging actively. So it's kind of like don't tell, but show. Or in our case, sometimes also tell, because it's good to have explicit clarity, but also show early, show in your voice, show in your behaviors, show in your examples that you're really sticking with things you kind of defined as rules. And even the ones we didn't define, demonstrate them early. How will this work? If you want to provide a lot of space for questions, for example, demonstrate that very early. Ask for their questions immediately. Provide a bit longer silence while you wait for these questions. Ensure that they have space, that they feel that you want the questions and are waiting for the questions, versus just saying, hey, we have time for questions, and then moving on, right? So I cannot overestimate how important this part of really demonstrating it and walking the talk is. Now, one of the best ways that we can actually demonstrate this early engagement and demonstrate early that everybody is here to participate and invite them into the conversation is a check-in. And there is a lot to unpack about check-in. I'm actually thinking about doing a separate video that's only about check-in and diving really deeper into it. Let me know if that would be interesting. Some of the best ways of letting me know through LinkedIn or by replying to any of Trainers Toolbox newsletters. You can find both links in the comments. I'll be happy to kind of dive in deeper into that video, because check-in is really, there is a lot we could be exploring, how to use check-in to build early interaction and to set the right tone and to set the motivation and so on. But I will also cover it here just very briefly. So first of all, why would we even want check-in? When we have and by check-in I mean a moment very early in training when everybody in the group shares something or says something. And what they say can be very diverse. It can be a word, a sentence. It can be more classic, like something about themselves. That can get boring as well, so you want to really think there. It can be a topical question that's related to our topic. So there are many ways of doing it, but the point of check-in is that everybody needs to say something, because it demonstrates that every voice is heard. Everybody checks into the space and into the group. They're actively invited to speak. They cannot hide, they're here now. They get the sense of the group and who is in the group, sense of community. And you also have a chance to notice any glitches, anything wrong with energy, with technology, with attitude, with anything else that you might keep in mind. So you kind of get the temperature check with the group as well. But ultimately, it's about demonstrating early that they're there to speak. Right? That they're there to engage actively. You can do it very differently depending on the group size, depending on your topic, depending if you want to be more classical or more innovative, but that's a whole different topic. The important thing is with check-in is that every voice is heard. And the important thing with check-in is that in a way it is relevant. That it's not just like random blah blah, we all speak in a circle, but that it really shows relevance with the topic of the training. That it's also dynamic, so you don't mess up your time management because 15 people are checking in for an hour telling us their life story, but instead you want to really keep it dynamic, at the same time feeling that they have space, but at the same time keep it dynamic and vivid. And also you want to always keep in mind to in some way pre-frame it. Why are we doing this check-in? That it's not like, now you speak, but that it's really about, is this about us getting to know each other, or is this about us in some way connecting more? What is the role? Is it this priming for the topic, or why are we doing it in the first place? Here is what you want to make sure happens when facilitating check-in. You want to make sure it is relevant, so that you somehow connect the check-in process, the question, the sharing, whatever it is, to the topic, and that it's not just like, yeah, everybody share something about yourself, but make it relevant, that it really serves as an introduction to the conversation, and that people feel like they're investing their time in a useful way. And then you also want to make it dynamic. You don't want to spend, half an hour on check-in for 10 people when everybody keeps saying their life story slowly and deeply. You want to make sure that the sharing itself, it's kind of like dynamic, that there is good energy to it, and you want to be careful with time management so it doesn't eat into too much time, but especially that it doesn't drain the energy, that it doesn't look like a very slow start and nothing meaningful is happening yet. And then finally, you also want to be conscious about how you pre-frame it. With check-in, you're pre-framing the whole conversation, you're setting the stage for everything after that, and you also want to make sure how you introduce that activity. So how do you share, why are we doing this now, and what is actually this check-in about, and what is the point of it? And maybe you want to use it also to raise some curiosity about other people or curiosity about the topic, depending what is kind of more in the spotlight for you at this moment in your agenda. And then finally, with check-in, you want to be very mindful of how you facilitate it. You can facilitate it in different ways. You can facilitate it by asking who is the volunteer and the next volunteer. That might be a little bit slow sometimes, but it gives more ownership and more space for sharing. Alternatively, you might facilitate it by you choosing the order of names in some way. That makes it definitely more dynamic, especially in virtual space. It's kind of easier. But at the same time, it does create a bit of a pressure and it puts you more in ownership, so not my favorite approach. One of my favorite approaches for most of situations is to go with first person who volunteers to check in, and then after that I ask them to invite the next person who they would want to hear. And in physical space we use a little ball for that, so they throw the ball to someone else. In virtual one they invite them by name. But I make sure to frame that carefully, that it's an invitation and not like this person needs to go next. So it's no pressure, but it's curiosity. I ask things like, okay, who are you curious about next? Who would you like to hear next? So I create a bit of that curiosity and invitation. Well, if you want to go deeper into facilitating check-in and what check-in, the different examples and shades of check-in, again, let me know via LinkedIn or replying to a newsletter, and I might dive into an episode just on check-in. Now we still have 3 tips. The next one is for building trust and building connection. The next one is building vulnerability in a gradual way. I cannot overestimate this enough. If we want to build trust and connection that's not very superficial, but that it has a bit of depth, we need to introduce some vulnerability. And usually in vulnerability, trainers needs to go first a little bit and then everybody else as well. But we need to have some sense of vulnerability and being personal and sharing. But the most crucial thing about this is that vulnerability needs to unveil gradually. If you go with too personal and too deep question too fast, or if somebody shares too personal example or story too early when there is no trust yet, it will be invasive, it will not feel good to the group, it will push them back, it will make them more protective, it will break the trust. So you really want to make sure, better to go too slow than too fast. Because if you go too fast, when people pull back, it's really hard to get them to enter the emotional space again. So instead, you really want to go gradually with softer and easier things first, and then deeper and deeper with every round of sharing or every round of conversation. It is important that everybody shares equally at each level before you go deeper. And it's not like few people sharing and then you go deeper and then a few people sharing. It has to be equal. It has to feel fair. It has to feel like everybody is in some way self-disclosing at the similar pace. And just to give you some examples what this can mean, it doesn't mean we have to go very, very personal. But for example, if we talk about things that are fun for us, like our hobbies, that is a little bit less deep than if we talk, for example, about our work. How do we do our work? What do we like or dislike about our work? That's a bit deeper, right? And then if we want to go even deeper, maybe that's the level of values. What truly matters to us in work and life. It's not very hard to disclose that, but it is deeper. And then if we want to go even deeper, maybe we can go into fears and challenges. But I hope you recognize how it cannot be that the first check-in question is, what are you afraid of? first checking question would be something easy. Maybe what is your strength, or what is one contribution you have to the team, or one thing you enjoy doing in this team, or something like that. And then with every round we will go deeper and deeper until we reach a place where we're all comfortable to share about fears as well. That's just an example. What exactly this depth means, it will really depend on your context, obviously. Okay, 2 tips to share. I hope you're still with me. I hope you're also grabbing some tips that you will actually use and implement. Remember, you can always refer to the handout and also see there to take a moment to reflect what do you actually want to, give more attention to. I would say gradual vulnerability, number 5, was one of the most important concepts. And also clarity, being safety, and walking the talk. Now 2 more to share. 6th one, trainer's role. This one is not huge, but it also can contribute to conversation quite a lot. And that is to be a little bit more intentional about what your role as a trainer is and how you introduce and present that role. Because you can be, as a trainer, you can be source of knowledge. For example, if you're doing technical training, you will not be a facilitator, you will be a trainer who is a source of knowledge. Or if you're bringing in an interesting framework, maybe when you're introducing it, you will be more in that position of kind of source of knowledge. But in many situations and many trainings, you want to be in a very facilitative role. Maybe you want to be the one who's holding the space and the process. Or you also want to be part of conversation, an equal contributor, even though you're facilitating it as well. What is important about this trainer's role is that you're intentional about it. Are you the authority? Are you the space holder? Are you the servant of the process? Are you an equal contributor? Where are you in this process? And that you're very transparent about that role and consistent in that role. That can still mean you will switch the role several times throughout the training, but in a predictable, consistent way, and that you will share it with everyone and make it clear what is your role, what is in a way your status as a trainer. This is really important because depending on that, you will make some conscious decision about how you build opening and how you build trust. For example, if you're more in a role of authority, you might focus more on goals and then also something that speaks to your credibility, like a personal story that's related to your credibility or something about your background. But if you're very much the space holder, you will start much more with something like check-in. You will transfer the ownership to the group very early. So it will be very different beginning. It will be very different choice. When do you present yourself? How do you present yourself? When do you present the goals? How do you present the goals? How do you invite the group into the conversations? All this will depend also on which role you choose to have. And your role will depend on your workshop goals and on your process, on the agenda that you planned, on the workshop that you planned. So this is, I don't want to dive much deeper into this, but it's more of an invitation to be a bit intentional about how am I building that role through my opening and through building the connection. And then finally, the last, I hope I'm not overwhelming you with thoughts here. The last one is that in every opening, in every connection building, in every trust building, and throughout every workshop, you want to think with 2 things in mind. One of them is connection and how much you build space for that connection. And the other one is efficiency. How fast can we move through the process? How much can we ever cover? And these 2 are a tension, like a paradox that you need to manage throughout the workshop. They, at the same time, they one come at the cost of the other in terms of time and energy invested, but at the same time, one is serving the other. If you build strong and deep connections at the beginning, even if you take a lot of space for that, that will help you move much more efficiently through the process later. You will be able to shorten the conversation abruptly without feeling abrupt because they'll feel very close and relaxed and connected with you. You will be able to rush them a bit, apply a bit of pressure in a friendly way because you are in a shared group and connection and space. So one thing you don't want to do is sacrifice connection early for sake of efficiency. So you don't want to do check-in very efficient or opening very efficient to move into the meat of the process fast, because then you might be sacrificing that efficiency is really fragile because there is no connection to support it. But at the same time, you also don't want to waste, and by waste I mean invest, more time to connection than it's necessary. You don't want to keep investing time in connection when it's no longer useful, when it's no longer supporting and serving the process. So this is a tension you always want to manage. You always want to ask, do we have enough connection now? Can we focus on efficiency? Or should we prioritize and focus on connection some more, not to come at the cost of everything later? I hope this makes sense. I feel like each of these tips I could dive in episode of its own. So I just want to still close them with a quick summary and invite you can also download this in a handout, but also invite you, where would you say that you have space for improvement? Where would you say you have something that you can keep on working on between these 7 tips? First, in your check-in and connection building, should you be more intentional and goal-oriented? Second, should you start earlier before the start of the workshop to build that connection? Tip 3, should you invest more in clarity to breed safety? Tip 4, should you walk the talk a bit more, demonstrate it earlier, not just say it? Tip 5, should you build more of that vulnerability, ideally gradually? Tip 6, should you be more intentional about trainer's role and then design beginning accordingly? And tip 7, where are you leaning in that balance between connection and efficiency? Are you giving too much space to connection or maybe too little? I hope this gave you some cool ideas. I do want to invite you, if you feel like you could get better as a trainer in all these skills of setting up the space, of facilitating the opening, of facilitating check-in, to consider joining me also for one of the deeper learning experiences. The big one, the fundamental one for all trainers who want to really strengthen the foundation, it's Train the Trainer, which is delivered in blended format of virtual and 2 live days, where we really practice in a very active way with a lot of feedback, all these tips, and many, many, many more aspects of successful and impactful training design and delivery. Or if you're already an experienced trainer or facilitator and you want to go in a bit deeper, fill in some gaps, get more feedback, get a bit of practice in a group of peers, experiment with some new things, discover new tools and techniques and tips, then you might want to join me for advanced facilitation training, 2 days live in different locations around Europe. I'm linking them both in descriptions, and I'm very much looking forward to see you in some of the next episode. The next one will be about how to close your workshop well. So a bit opposite from trust building, how to close with an impact and how to close to make it really memorable. I hope to see you there. Remember to subscribe or sign up for the newsletter, link in the description, to make sure you get the notes when the new episode is coming up. Thank you for exploring this topic with me. I hope you found some exciting ideas and valuable tools that you will use already today. Remember, they only work if you put them in practice, but then they make all the difference. If you enjoy Trainer's Toolbox podcast, do leave a rating and review. It does mean a lot. And if you haven't done it yet, click on the links in the episode descriptions and discover free materials and valuable resources to dive in deeper. See you in the next episode or at Trainer's Toolbox newsletter.